Hey everybody, Cap here. Welcome to the channel. It's time for this month's Army story. As always, Army stories are true stories that I either witnessed or directly participated in while I was in the Army. They're not being told to make me look like I'm some sort of big friggin' hero, because guess what? I'm not. I simply tell these stories so that when I'm older, well, I'm kind of older already, but later on when I'm older, I will still be able to remember the guys I was with and the stuff that we did that was either silly or dumb or weird, the kind of stuff that we get into as guys when we're living together in a barracks or on deployment. Now, 3 times now, count them, 1, 2, 3, I've tried to tell a story on camera of the time I nearly dropped an extended scissors bridge on top of myself, and it just doesn't work for some reason. So instead, this month, it's going to be the story of our strategically relocating a couple dozen cases of M&Ms. Because remember, they melt in your mouth, not in the bed of your deuce and a half. So let's get started. So back in the day, 72nd Engineer Company was a separate mechanized engineer company. And because we weren't part of a battalion, what we had was 3 line platoons, an assault and barrier platoon, a maintenance platoon, and a company headquarters platoon. Within the company headquarters platoon, within the company headquarters platoon, there was company headquarters section, the administrative guys who did all the record keeping and that stuff for the CO and the first sergeant. But we also had our own mess section. And because of that, we had to go and pull kitchen detail, but not the way you're thinking of. There's no sitting around a pot in your t-shirt peeling potatoes like in old movies. We would have our cooks, we would have their 2 sergeants, an E6 and E7, and several enlisted engineers, and I think there was an E5 always on the detail as well. And we would all pile into the back of the cook's deuce and a half, the 2.5 ton truck, and we would head over to support battalion, and we would pick up not only MREs in cases, but T rations, which was basically a big tray, a hermetically sealed tray full of pre-cooked food, where all you had to do is dunk it in boiling 190 degree-ish water, and the instructions were on the outside. And sometimes they would also pick up hot A rations, which are regular actual food that needed to be prepared like in a restaurant or in your home. The holidays were coming around. When I say the holidays, it was Thanksgiving was coming around. And we noticed when we went over to support battalion that there were all these guys from support battalion, and imagine this was a plastic package, walking around with little plastic packages. They were M&Ms, feeding their faces. So, well, wait a minute, where are all these M&Ms coming from? And the fact is that there were pallets of M&Ms in the supply area where we were stopping to get the food. So we said to ourselves, well, hey, they're just saving that stuff up till they have enough. They'll issue it out to all the mess sections in the brigade, the battalions, and the 2 separate companies, and we'll all have some nice M&Ms when Thanksgiving rolls around. Well, Thanksgiving rolls around, and we did have something special. we had a massive sandstorm. And with the sandstorm, we also had no M&Ms. But we continued to go over there, and again, people are walking around with their little baggies of M&Ms going, well, we decided that we should strategically relocate some M&Ms to an alternate location. In other words, we were going to steal them. So the way the detail worked was the lower enlisted engineers and the lower enlisted cooks would get off the truck and form a chain. And the E7, this Sergeant First Class, from the mess detail, from the mess section, would deal with his opposite number in supply at support battalion, and they would count off the number of cases of this and that and the other thing, and we would just chain load it up into the back of the truck. There would be a couple of signatures. We would drive back to the company area and we'd offload it into our mess sections, GP, I think large tent, like you would see on MASH. Well, that left our E6 from our mess section unsupervised. And in his defense, well, I don't know. Anyhow, when the two E7s were busy counting stuff, cases of MREs, cases of T-rations, cases of fresh fruit, he would sneak over and grab a couple of cases of M&Ms. And we stacked them. If this clipboard is the bed of an Army 2.5 ton truck, and this is the front, and this would be the cab, we stacked them 8 inches high or so, about the height of a case of MREs, along the front end of the cab. And then we simply staggered the cases of MREs and kind of buried them. They were completely invisible. And then, as we were finished, somebody walked up to the E7 from support battalion and said something, and he came right over to the truck. Where are my M&Ms? Gee, Sarge, I don't see any M&Ms here. You guys stole X number of cases of M&Ms. Well, he didn't know. We didn't know. It was a bunch. But I want my M&Ms back. Sarge, do you see any M&Ms? Now, normally, even I have the sense to not open my big fat mouth when two E7s, Sergeants First Class, are going to get in a screaming match with each other. But just so happened that I was tired and annoyed enough because it was hot, and I was now also covered with dust, that I said, well, gee, Sergeant, I guess we could unload the entire truck. He looked at he looked at the E7 from our mess section and at the E6 from our mess section. He looked at me, looked at the truck, and said, you guys just get the hell out of here. Now, not only did the entire 72nd Engineer Company get to enjoy M&Ms for about a week, and they were M&Ms not out of MREs, they were expired for 5 or 6 years. They were fresh M&Ms. But as a little blip cherry on top of our M&M sundae, the next time we did mess detail and rode on over to support battalion, we were informed, no, you guys from 72nd Engineers, you're not allowed off the truck. What? We're not allowed off the truck? We don't have to do any work? Hey, winning! And we got M&Ms. Oh, shh. So that's the story of what melts in your mouth, but not in your deuce and a half. Anyhow, new videos every Wednesday on schedule, and if something weird pops into my otherwise still empty head, on Monday or Friday. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.